Hello everybody, happy Monday. We are going live today with Michali and we're going to be answering a question that's been posted on the forum. It's actually a really interesting question, one that stumped me a bit, but Michali said that she was very passionate about it and had a lot to say, so we're excited for her to join this live. Hello everybody that's joining. Hello Michali, let me invite you. I think I invited you, Michali. Somebody else.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Amazing. I can. Yes.
Okay. And can you see me? Because yesterday I got feedback that my face was like half cut off the entire live. So.
Oh no. Yes, I can totally. I know I never know where to put my head.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi to the person saying hi.
Amazing. Okay.
Alrighty,
I
shall
feel
we?
like I say this every week that it's been like the longest week ever, but I'm just saying it again. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. Okay.
It's so funny. I feel like I haven't seen it forever, but for some reason this week I'm very confused. I'm like, wait,
Okay.
a week just passed? What?
Same, totally. Amazing. Well, we have a lot
Okay,
of
so
visitors.
here's the question.
Yes,
If
answer the question.
Should we just dive in? Okay. It's by Simple Simon.
Mm-hmm.
And the question reads, have any of you felt that throughout your life you have unfairly become the victim of double standards? In other words, have any of you felt that when you're doing the same exact thing as others, only you are criticized but no one else is, or others are commended for the very same action for which you are criticized?
Yeah, it's a really good
I
question.
love this question. Yes.
I before you came on, I said that I would not have known how to answer this question. Like I definitely understand the question, but it's something that I've never been asked before. But then when I shared it with you, you're like, I love this and I have so much to say. So definitely feel like it might be fun.
Yes. So it's so funny because I have like a list of things that I want to post to my social media, and depending on the week and what comes up and my health, that's what will get posted or whatnot,
Okay.
But I literally had something on my queue for double standards. Now, here's my belief about double standards. It's healthy to have double standards in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a myth that double standards should not exist in a healthy relationship. And the reason that double standards exist is because we are unique. We are unique human beings, which means that we're going to have unique needs in a relationship. Now, there are certain needs that are universal, right? So needs like affection, attention, respect, trust, safety, right? Those are needs that every single human being on this planet has.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are more unique needs, whether it's the ones I just mentioned and just different quantities, or other needs, right? And so my needs are going to look different than your needs. And so I might need you to give me certain things that you don't need me to give you. And so that becomes a double standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm hearing really two questions in this question. One is, it sounds like that they're blaming they're attributing the criticism to the fact that there is a double standard. And what I'm saying is that double standards are actually good because it speaks to the different needs that people have. Now, criticism, on the other hand, is not great to have in a relationship. And that's really the I think the core at the core of the question is that this person's feeling criticized. Now that's more of an issue of communication, and how conducive, the relationship climate is to feedback. And it sounds like that the way that this person's receiving feedback in their relationship is not working for them. And that warrants one to many conversations with the person that they're in a relationship with to figure out a way that they can receive feedback that doesn't feel critical. And I think that's like a whole separate question of what that looks like, how to do that. One of my clinicians on my team, Michal Goldman, she actually posted a whole series about the Gottman's Four Horsemen, where it's some of the things that come up in marriages that end up not working out, and one of them is criticism. And so I think there's a lot to be said about criticism, and that's a totally different topic. But in terms of double standards are actually exactly how we can show up to our relationships in a way that's customized for each person, if that makes sense.
Love that spin on double standards. I'm wondering if the criticism is happening because the person or the two people in the relationship are not understanding the like the way you're explaining double standards, which is so brilliant. Meaning, I wonder if, let's say, the person that feels like there's double standards, when they recognize that, they're saying like, hey, why is it okay for you? And then that person starts criticizing, right? So it's like, I feel like maybe that's why the question came with this type of combination of like double
Yeah,
standards and criticism. So I think you pieced it
exactly.
apart perfectly.
Yeah, I think it needs to be teased apart.
Mhm. Totally. And like that's something I've heard before, that like criticism is like the one killer of relationships. But I never heard anyone say like
One
double
of many.
standards are one of many, right? But I never heard anyone say that like double standards kill relationships. And I think there's a good reason for that. I feel like it's so true, like double standards. And I'd love for you to give like maybe like an example of like how I feel like once you started saying this, I remember you maybe did a video on OKclarity about this, like how double standards might be okay in a relationship. So
Yeah.
just for people listening, I'd love for you to give an example if you have it at the top of your
Oh,
head.
I'll give a personal example.
Amazing.
So my husband and I have totally different definitions of what it means to take care of people when they're not feeling well. Okay. And this is something that we learned very early on in our marriage in a very funny way. But so when I am sick, I like to be pampered. I like to be given the oohs and the ahs and, and just, do you need anything to eat? Go to sleep. I'll give you a foot massage, like let me take care of you and pamper you, rest, watch tons of movies, right? My husband's the exact opposite. Okay. So he puts a hood over his head. He retreats to a room. He doesn't want anyone bothering him, and he wants to just come out of hibernation when he feels ready. Now, for me, when I heard that, I was just like, oh my goodness. I started psychoanalyzing. Of course, any therapists on here know you should not therapize your spouses. But I think that the key here in terms of double standard, right, is like I was almost enforcing something. I was trying to enforce my way of treating someone when they're sick based on my needs, right, in the beginning of my marriage, because I wanted to avoid a double standard, right? There was a part of me that wanted to give to my husband because I cared about him. And then there was another part of me that was feeling guilty that if I don't give him the kind of treatment that I want him to give me, then what kind of person am I? Right.
Right. And will he give you that treatment? Like, will he say no?
And right.
Like, I don't need you to do that for me. I'm not doing it for you.
Exactly. And that's a great point. A lot of times people don't want to really give the spouses what the spouses are saying they need, because out of fear that the spouses then are not going to give them what they need. And so that definitely, you're so true. That's like, that was such an element with that situation. And the thing is that if I really hear what my husband is saying, he's basically giving me the map to how to take care of him, show up for him by not showing up, right?
So
which is much easier.
Like, how'd you luck out?
So much easier. Like I would have to make the chicken soup, then I need to honor that and telling myself that I can relax and that it's okay that we need different things is huge, because then I'm telling him through my actions, when I hear what he's saying and I follow through, I respect you to know what you need, and I'm going to honor that. And that makes him feel like a human being, right? And it's like the opposite of emasculating, right? Which is like, no, I'll tell you what you need and I know better, right? So it's really empowering a person to say what they need and to be assertive and then to honor that, right? So that's just an example. Now I see someone is asking a question here.
Beautiful example, though. Thank you for sharing that, Michali.
So my pleasure. It's a very funny example. We have a lot of jokes in my house.
It's so like on point. Like you couldn't have like a better example like to explain the point.
Thank you. There's lots of jokes with that. So the question someone's writing is the question in context of a relationship, or does the person just feel terminally different and unique and experiences unfairness through life? So
that's a good question on the question. I don't know.
Yeah. So the question is, it definitely says throughout your life. This person wrote that have any of you felt that throughout your life you've been unfairly become the victim of double standards? But it sounds like obviously that it has to do with relationships, right? Like if you're not in if you don't have relationships, you don't experience this, right? And so I think that I would just reframe the whole thing, right? Where you're not being a victim to double standards, you're being the lucky, recipient of double standards, because that creates that creates the space for you to have your own unique needs, and that it doesn't have to match exactly other people that you're in a relationship with. Again, criticism is different. You want to learn, skills to give feedback and receive feedback. That's different than dishing out and receiving criticism, right? That's a whole different topic.
Correct. But I would imagine that this questioner doesn't, the people in his life or her life don't necessarily and especially the questioner doesn't understand this concept of double standard. So anytime they're confronted with double standard, they automatically put on take the victim role, which only makes it worse, because that lends itself to criticism and, probably potentially other hurtful words and actions and behaviors. So I think we start with the first step, which is like the concept of double standards is real and it's important, and it's actually like almost like a luxury of relationships and life. They need to be communicated between both parties in a proper way, right? Like if you just said like, well, this is what I want, and like, too bad.
Right, for sure.
Right, like it has to be communicated that it's totally okay for us to have different needs, and it looks like from an outsider that this might look like double standards, but it's okay. It's not like an abuse of the concept of double standards.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I guess like that would be like the answer to this questioner's question.
Yeah. And obviously everything I'm saying is it has to be a healthy relationship, meaning that there's safety, trust, and respect, right? Because then if you're having a double standard, but then your needs are not being honored or you're not respecting their needs, then there's an issue there. And that has more to do with dysfunction in the dynamic, not that the double standard is the dysfunction. There's a difference.
Correct. And I'm sure there are some like universal double standards, and I can't think of any at the top of my head, but like certain things that should not be double standards. And maybe the questioner is asking about those things. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things that people should be allowed, like there's like, saying how your day was, or saying something at the dinner table, whatever. If one person could say it and the other person can't, like that could be a double standard. And like, why does that exist? That's not something that should typically exist. So like back to your point, like we need to, obviously we don't know the nitty-gritties, the context, but in general, double standards can and should be a part of a relationship, to the extent that needs to, be communicated on like an individual basis, in what ways it seems to be unhealthy in this particular question, potentially.
Exactly. And then it comes down to communication, right? Like what are my needs? What are your needs? How can we make everyone's needs happen in a way that works for everybody, right? And if I can't meet your need, then how can I support you in getting your need met somewhere else, right? That's a mature conversation between two adults in a healthy relationship. If the dinner table example is not, if that's happening, then the entire conversation becomes a communication conversation about, well, how come, and what's hurting you in this, and this is what I need, how can I get my need met, that kind of thing. Right. Exactly. But that's different than like having a very critical kind of conversation. Right. Exactly. So that's a communication thing, not a double standard thing.
Correct. I love this. Thank you so much, Michali. Now I know why you said you were excited for this question. Amazing nuggets here. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.